getting into its actions. In the digestive system, like I mentioned earlier, this is a great carminative plant, right? Just the richness of the volatile oils in this herb makes it very, very nice. As a digestive carminative, very similarly to how we use a lot of our other digestive carminatives in the mint family, right? Gas, bloating, general dyspepsia, right? People that just have a little bit of digestive insufficiency, people that need a little bit of relief, especially when there's a lot of that kind of air element stuff going on in the GI, you know, yeah, gas, bloating, gas going up, gas going down, right? Lemon balm is going to be really, really nice there. And again, because it's nervine, I just really think of it for people that have digestive complaints connected to nervous system complaints, right? So they get stressed, they get anxious, they get nervous, and they feel it in the gut, right? So they get the butterflies in the stomach, or maybe they get like, yeah, just nervous, people that get nervous digestion, basically, is the way that I like to think of this herb for the GI. Pretty simple GI remedy, but very, very effective, right? Really, really good to consider. And what I like about it too is it tastes fantastic, right? So this herb makes a really, really great infusion. It tastes really good. It's great for children. So really, really good plant to consider there for the GI. Of course, the nervous system is one of the major affinities. That's actually one of the main primary ways that I use this plant, is as a very mild, gentle, nervine relaxant, right? So this is a good calming agent for people that feel on edge, yeah, nervous, stressed, anxious. It's just very, very nice to gently kind of chill you out a little bit. Definitely not so strong that it's going to make you feel tired during the day, which is really, really nice. But I specifically like it too. This is like one of those herbs that, yes, it's a gently calming, nervine remedy, but at the same time, it's uplifting. So I like to use this herb for people that, yeah, nervous, anxious, tense, but I also really like it for people that are a little downhearted, you know, like they feel melancholic, they feel heavy-hearted, maybe a little bit on the depressed side of things, you know, very, very uplifting. And for that purpose, I really combine this herb a lot with holy basil, tulsi. I feel like, I don't know, like lemon balm and tulsi are very different herbs, right? I mean, lemon balm does not have like the adaptogenic properties that tulsi has. But man, they work really, really well together, especially for this pattern I'm talking about here, that kind of heavy heart, downhearted, melancholic, depressed. They just really uplift. They uplift your heart. They make you feel kind of happy, you know? I mean, it's like, hey, you know, even just smelling it, it's just like, it's kind of like uplifting and refreshing and yeah, it just makes you feel good, you know? So I really love this. So as a nervine, yeah, gentle nervine relaxant, but also like nervine uplifter. I don't ever really know how to say that. I mean, some people might call it an antidepressant. I don't really like to use that word for herbs just because it has a very, I don't know. When we hear about like antidepressants, we tend to think of these really strong, you know, pharmaceutical medications with very specific biochemical effects. And that's not what lemon balm's doing, right? I mean, from my understanding, I don't think it's like necessarily working on like serotonin, you know, neurological, neurotransmitter, you know, pathways and metabolism and things like that. Maybe it is. Maybe there's some research I'm not aware of. Quite likely, honestly, I don't really dig into the research that much these days. But what I do know is that it works, right? It works really, really nicely for that kind of downhearted, heavy-heartedness. So, I mean, maybe I'm wondering if in like TCM they might consider it a Shen tonic, maybe. It does combine nicely, actually, with as I said, tulsi. I also like it combined with mimosa, the albizia is very, very nice combined with lemon balm there too. So that's some of the nervine properties, the nervous system dynamics with this herb. And then thinking of that in terms of the cardiovascular system. So I mentioned it in relationship to the cardiovascular system? Well, first off, this is a very nice relaxant diaphoretic. So it can be used as a hot tea to help promote sweating during fever. Really nice one that it's like in more of a high fever place. Like they feel hot, right? They typically feel hot, they feel tense, having a hard time sleeping, probably achy and things like that. Very, very nice to kind of relax that tension in the pores. We might also think of that as like a surface relieving agent from a TCM perspective. It's just going to relax tension in the periphery, the capillary beds, the pores. It's going to open everything up to release that inner heat of the fever, of a fever. And I can actually, I'll tell a little story. I remember when I was in like my early 20s, I was staying with some family at the time, and I had a little nephew who, I think he was probably like 3 or 4 at the time, and he had a fever. He wasn't feeling good, but he really wanted some ice cream, you know. He was kind of crying and fussing, and you know, my sister at the time was just kind of overwhelmed and stressed out, and then did the thing that sometimes parents do, or just like, whatever, like, here's the ice cream, you know. And I was kind of like, I don't really think that's a good idea. Like, he's got a fever. Shouldn't really eat during a fever anyways, and definitely not like a bunch of heavy, and he had a really wet phlegmatic cough too at the time. And I was like, oh man, all that sugar is gonna be kind of hard on his immune system, and all that dairy is just gonna aggravate all this phlegm. And I was like, oh man, but I didn't want to say anything, you know. So he ate the ice cream, right? And then pretty soon it was like, oh, my stomach hurts. Like, I feel sick. I feel sick. And he's just writhing and he's really not feeling good. And I was like, hey, you know, like, do you mind if I give him a little bit of herbs, you know, to help him out a little bit? His stomach's upset. He's got a fever. You know, you're gonna just give him a little bit of tea, you know? And she was like, you know, at the time my family was like a little skeptical about, you know, me, the hippie herbalist. They weren't really sure, you know, just about the whole thing, really, you know. So I'm sure some of you might be able to sympathize that. So I made him some lemon balm tea, right? And I just had some fresh lemon balm and made it up into a tea, and he drank some, you know. I mean, just a little bit, you know. He wasn't, because his stomach hurt, but I was like, hey, drink this, you know, it's gonna help you out, make you feel better. And so he drank the tea, and then pretty soon, like, I don't know, maybe 10-15 minutes later, he threw it all up. All the ice cream came up, he threw up, and then he was like, oh, I feel so much better. And then all of a sudden, like, he was really red-faced, you know, his skin was red, he felt really hot to the touch, but dry, skin was dry. And then all of a sudden he started sweating, you know, his face, forehead, and his arms, and he started sweating, and he started to cool off, and then all of a sudden he just became really calm and tranquil. His stomach felt better, he broke the sweat, he calmed down, and then he fell asleep, and he slept like all night. Like, he had been waking up periodically a bunch throughout the night. And so it was really cool. Like, I felt like I saw this herb, because when you're nauseous, you feel tense, right? And you can't really throw up when you're tense because everything's all clamped down. And it's like, that's why that moment, if you ever felt nauseous, you're like, oh, I gotta throw up, and then it's all like, and then you kind of feel it start to come, and then there's a moment where everything kind of dilates and opens and relaxes, and then you throw up. Lemon balm as a relaxant, as a calming Nervine agent, I think just helped open everything up so he could throw up. It relaxed the pores, he released the sweat, the Nervine property calmed him down, he got a really good night's sleep. So that was kind of like, that was a pretty cool story where I just used lemon balm by itself and like really learned a lot about this plant through that experience. So a great relaxant diaphoretic. Like I said, it's best to do diaphoretics as teas. This herb tastes great, so it's fantastic for children. It actually has been pretty well studied also as an antiviral. So I don't remember what the it's something in the oil, in the essential oil of lemon balm, that has been shown to have antiviral effects. So in that combination, right, I mean, a lot of times, like things like influenza, like things that infect us, that give us fever, tend to be viral in nature. The combination of the relaxant diaphoretic property with the antiviral effect, very, very nice for just kind of your run-of-the-mill coughs, colds, flus, things like that. Maybe not so much coughs. I don't really think of it so much as a cough remedy, but it can be really nice to consider there in that situation. So anyways, I was starting to talk about the cardiovascular system and then I digress. But really the relaxant diaphoretic property is, you know, the nervine effect, relaxing everything down and specifically influencing the vasculature. But that also does work directly on the heart. So this is one of my favorite remedies to consider for anxious heart type patterns. So like I was talking about, people get nervous and anxious and then it affects the gut. Well, it's also really, really great. And I think actually a little more specific for people that get nervous and anxious and it really affects their heart. So they get heart palpitations, arrhythmias, irregular heartbeat, rapid heartbeat. They get really sweaty. That's actually one of the specific indications Matthew Wood always talks about, is the lemon balm person. They tend to be really nervous and anxious and they get really sweaty, especially like on their palms. And that's usually an indication that that anxiety and nervousness is influencing the heart and the blood and the vasculature. And so lemon balm is really, really specific there. So I really love it in cardiovascular formulas actually. So if people have that nervous heart, I think of it as a cardiac nervine, right? A cardiac nervine. And for that purpose, I really love to combine it. I've combined it a lot with motherwort, a fellow mint family plant, tilia or linden flower, very, very nice triplet there, hawthorn flower. These are some very nice herbs to combine with lemon balm for that anxious, nervous heart. And then the last main kind of action and quality that I think of is for hyperthyroidism, right? So this is one of the main herbs that we tend to think of for hyperthyroid. You know, if some of you have like listened to me talk for a while or anything like that, you know, I'm not really into, use this herb for that symptom kind of thinking. But some symptoms, some pathological patterns are, well, just that, they're patterns. They're very specific constellations of symptoms and even, energetics and things like that. And some herbs just are very specific for those types of patterns. And lemon balm absolutely fits into that pattern of hyperthyroidism. So when the thyroid is in a hyperactive state, it's really ramping up basically metabolism, right? So everything is firing hot. Like your metabolism is burning really, really quickly. And oftentimes that can rev up your nervous system. That can lead to, a lot of like nervousness, anxiousness, insomnia, and heart issues, right? People with hyperthyroid can very commonly complain of heart palpitations, heart arrhythmias, just rapid racing heartbeat. Because they're so stimulated a lot, their digestive system sometimes isn't operating very well. Sometimes they have hot digestion. Sometimes their digestion just isn't, like they don't have much of an appetite. Because the sympathetic nervous system is so stimulated, they're not able to get into that nice, calm, mellow, resting, digesting state of parasympathetic. So it's like, that in a way like really covers what lemon balm does, right? Everything I just explained in the GI, in the nervous system, in the cardiovascular system, the hyperthyroid pattern addresses all of those things. So this is a fantastic herb to consider for hyperthyroid patterns. Again, oftentimes, like my understanding of it is that it's palliative. Right? That this herb is going to be palliative to the symptoms. From my understanding, this is not going to cure hyperthyroidism, right? So I just need to make that really, really clear. I don't want anyone to misunderstand me here. This is an herb that you can use to naturally support the constellation of symptoms that accompany hyperthyroidism, but I don't necessarily think it's going to cure hyperthyroidism. There's a lot of complexity there that needs to be looked at on a deeper level. But nonetheless, if you can provide, our job as herbalists is to alleviate suffering, right? And so if this herb can help to support, alleviate someone's suffering, it's really great. And what's fantastic about this herb is it's like, it's pretty mild in a sense, right? This isn't like a, whoa, like really strong, like heavy hitting herb. Like, you know, you could take a lot of this herb and it's like pretty okay, right? So you don't really have to be too concerned about it in that way. So, so that's one of the other primary patterns that this herb is really considered for. And then I was mentioning earlier, I just want to jump backwards really quick. I was talking about the antiviral effect. One of the primary uses of lemon balm actually is using the oil topically for like viral outbreak type things, like herpes outbreaks, cold sores, or even genital herpes, as well as what do you call it? The adult onset chicken pox, shingles. Yeah, shingles outbreaks, the pain associated with that. That's a very nervy pain that can accompany that. So Melissa oil has been used topically for that. I just will warn you, what's weird about this herb is that, like, whoa, it's so aromatic, but you know, if I was to harvest all of this lemon balm here and go put it into my still, I would probably get like maybe like 1 or 2 mils of volatile oil. It's strange. It does not, it's like a rose, you know, these roses are so aromatic. You would think there's just a ton of oil in there, but there's not. And lemon balm's that way too. So, I mean, I've prepared lemon balm spagyric essence many times, distilled the oil many times. It's difficult to work with. You gotta kind of pay attention to it, and there's kind of tricks and ways to get the oil out that's helpful, you know. Sometimes, you know, when you're distilling oils, you got this big flasks or separatory funnels, and you know, and then you got to drain the hydrosol off the bottom, and then all the oil has to go down, and then by the time the oil gets to the bottom of the sep funnel, it's all stuck to the wall of the glassware and you don't really have anything left. So there, you know, there's like little tricks to do to get a little bit of a better yield out of the oil. But yeah, for some reason the oil is minimal. And so because of that, lemon balm essential oil is super expensive, right? I think I'm sure there's products out there where people are putting the oil into, you know, maybe topical products, salve products, for the treatment of viral things like that. I think people combine it with St. John and put it in like a St. John's wort oil a lot, or St. John's wort salves, for the nerve related stuff there associated with some of those viral issues.